So Jake,
Yeah.
is Magic the Gathering dead?
I feel like we've heard this before. No, it's just been a weird year for Magic.
Weird in what sense? Like, what would you say is the weirdest thing about this year?
Okay, so we have good old Magic the Gathering. Consistently, you know, a set every couple of months, something like that. And then maybe an ancillary set somewhere in between. Sometimes it's not quite part of the standard, but, you know, part of everything else. You start this year off with the same set smashed together.
Same two sets smashed together.
Same two sets smashed together. That's very true.
It's a double feature.
It's a double feature. And black and white. And and no differences in it. It's still random. It's designed to be drafted, which is, you know, you think would be really cool, but
it's not designed to be drafted.
It's not designed to be drafted well. And then it just kind of snowballed. A new product, not every month, but more than the standard Magic player would be used to. And it really got a lot of just casual players and, you know, people who are ready to just play and have fun, questioning, well, Neon Dynasty came out, and then we had barely a couple of months, and then New Capenna came out, and then we had 5 months before a new set for Standard came out.
But within those sets, we had Baldur's Gate, Commander Legends, and Double Masters 2022.
Yeah, so, I mean, don't get me wrong. If we have, like, a consistent scheduling where it was, new set, new base set, 3 months, maybe one little thing in between, maybe a Commander Legends, or after a little bit of while, a Double Masters, something to appease the other, you know, ways of playing, that'd be great. But it was just a hodgepodge of everything all together. And then in addition to deciding to do, okay, so we got a new set coming out. Cool. What are the different ways we can purchase it? Well, you can purchase the draft, okay, that's normal, or the set, okay, I'm not hating it as much as originally I did with, when did it come out? Was it Kaldheim that it started, or something like that? In any case, it started there, and then it was a little weird, but then people got into it, and then it's more of a good thing for, like, say, people who just want to crack packs and get some value rather than draft and play. And then you added the collectors, which was a cool little experiment that kept going. And then now we have Jumpstart every set. And I don't know why.
It's been a rocky release schedule. Noticeable probably because in addition to having 2 fall sets a year now, which makes things staggered a little bit less evenly, there are noticeably almost as many supplemental products as there are mainline products now.
Yeah.
If we're looking at just sets to have come out, not counting double feature for Innistrad, which is just a reprint set. But if we're talking about experimental products or just non-standard products, you got Double Masters 2022, you got Commander Legends, Battle for Baldur's Gate, you've got Unfinity. Those are all different products, and you could say, oh, they're designed to do different things, but they're still competing for the same space.
Yeah.
So you can go from, 2-3 months in between sets to a month in between sets. And I think the one thing that is tiring is not just the schedule of these things releasing and, now I've got to buy this, now I've got to buy this. That is frustrating sometimes, but it's manageable from a pocketbook perspective if you focus on the things that you want and are smart about how you're going to play.
Yeah.
I think the thing that is a little bit frustrating, not just from a buying perspective or from a playing perspective, but also just from the perspective of trying to keep up with all of this, is that as soon as one set comes out, you're already seeing new cards from the next set. And it's just a matter of keeping up and trying to, as soon as one thing is in your hands, your mind is on the next thing. And I think that creates a type of fatigue more than just a steady release of products. It's a steady release of information. It's a steady release of hype. This is the first year I've seen where every time a new product will be announced, people will say, we're not ready.
It's rough, particularly as a player. Like literally this, Brothers War has been barely out. And then I turn around and go, might as well see what Jumpstart 2022 is going to get us. And and yeah, okay, there's a couple nice things, and then I've completely forgot about Brothers War, despite like holding the cards in my hand. Almost the Andy from Toy Story, I don't want to play with you anymore, and just dropping the cards that I've already gotten when focusing on something else. Kind of sucks.
It's really tough to care about something when at the same time that you're buying it, you're being told to focus on something else.
It's not only that, it's the sheer quantity of each new release that's coming out. I'm usually, we got draft set collectors, but now we got Jumpstart, and then now, before it used to be like maybe once we get a Commander set associated with a complete set. Now you're expected every single time. And that can kind of be a little rough for particularly Commander players, because you're already working on like 5 of the decks, and now there's even more things to get. And then it's not even in the baseline set. You have to get the ancillary products. You got to get collectors if you don't want to buy the Commander sets itself, because you can only get certain ones in those. It's a little frustrating.
I think it's not necessarily a problem in as much as you can choose to buy whatever you want, and the argument would probably be what's for one player might not be for another player. That someone who wants to get 20 foils in a pack, or however many it is, who's buying collector boosters, isn't going to try to get those same cards buying draft boosters. So having different SKUs just makes it possible for people to get the kind of experience that they want out of a new set. And I think that there's definitely a value to that. I think at the same time, this is something that I think Wizards understands in terms of game design, but doesn't necessarily come through in their products. Often you can create an amount of tension by presenting choices that people aren't necessarily looking for. If this year, last year as well, but especially this year, the biggest question I've gotten is what's the difference between a draft booster and a set booster? Yeah. Now, it's really easy to say, oh, draft boosters are for drafting and set boosters are for if you just want to open cards to collect. And each one is a better experience for the player who's looking for that kind of function.
Yeah.
However, the second question that we see often is, okay, draft boosters are for if you want to draft. What's draft? It's easy for someone who is already super invested in the product to focus and zero in on something and say, well, this is all I care about. I don't need to worry about anything else. When you're talking about people who are trying to come on board for that product, you've just created what might have been a bump before. You've created a wall. And then the more you add on to that, that wall can become a mountain.
Yeah. I mean, I just found it odd because, like, I would think with Jumpstart becoming a every release sort of thing, I thought that kind of replaced maybe the theme booster or the kind of like the ancillary little starter decks that they used to come out with.
Like the Planeswalker decks?
Yeah, like the Planeswalker decks. I'm not saying to bring back the Planeswalker decks and stuff. Neither here nor there.
I'm saying bring back the Planeswalker decks.
I'm kind of saying bring back the Planeswalker decks. At very least, if you're going to make Jumpstart a more of a constant thing, make it so that people would want to get it. I don't want another dragon that's a little better than Shivan Dragon.
I feel like the Jumpstart packs as a starter product are a solution to a problem that nobody had.
Yeah.
That is to say, you could argue, oh, players need a way to be able to start playing while they don't have a big collection and they don't have a lot of cards. So, oh, the Jumpstart packs are a way that people, well, they can get 2 cards, shuffle them up, and then sit down and play. You know, they've started now to play with the lowest barrier to entry possible.
Yeah.
You know, someone who is looking at their options, who's a new player, you know, you can point them toward the Jumpstart packs and say, oh, this is all you need to sit down, shuffle up, and play. That's not too far off from what most people are going to do anyway, in as much as they'll buy a couple of packs, shuffle up whatever cards they like out of them, make a kitchen table deck, and learn to play that way. If you want something that people are going to be making no modifications to whatsoever, that they're going to play right out of the box as a way to give them the best experience possible.
Yeah.
I mean, they used to give us free decks to give away to people that were little half decks that did just about that job quite well.
Yep.
If you're not going to be doing that, if you're going to say, okay, now it's on you to buy the packs, open the cards, and play in this very specific way, sure, some people are going to do that. Some are going to just buy a bunch of them, open them up, and still build their own decks out of that anyway. And some aren't going to care and are just going to buy other stuff anyway.
Or just play an arena.
Yeah, it's something where it's a new product or a product for new players that I think still requires the mentality of an experienced player to approach in the correct way. I do think that the rate of releases that we're seeing also sheds a light on one of the weaknesses that Magic has as a product.
What do you mean?
I think that for a lot of card games, Pokemon being an example, but really any of the main trading card games outside of something like Magic, you have a lot more sustainability for any given set because there's less of an emphasis on timeliness. Not to say that, oh, there's not a standard format that people want to buy, but when a brand is strong enough that people are going to continuously come to it, not for one thing in one particular set, but just because they enjoy that product and want to buy it, whatever the product is or whatever the product line is, that's something that can sustain itself for a while. If a set comes out, Pokemon being an example of a game, if a set comes out for Pokemon, people will start buying it when it comes out. You know, people might try to fill out a full collection of it. People might wander by, oh, I missed this when it first came out. Let me get some of these cards because I enjoy Pokemon and I like seeing these cute little characters. With Magic, there is a really strong community focus on gameplay.
Yeah.
And that gameplay is something that has, compared to collector interest, a relatively limited shelf life. You could look at Magic sets for Standard, and even not for Standard, as having a draft format that draws a lot of people into play. People don't play draft forever. If it's not a great format, or if it's a format that gets solved quickly, people might draft a couple times, people might play a couple weeks, even maybe a month or two. But if you have 3 months between sets, that's going to peter out relatively quickly. Similarly, if you're looking at something like Standard, people are going to buy packs at the beginning, but once enough single cards that are popular are in circulation, people will be able to buy those very easily. Once you have those cards, as a Magic player, what's your incentive to keep buying packs? I think that at this point we might see, oh, after a month they've rushed to the next product. But I think that also might indicate, okay, is the natural lifespan of a new Magic Standard set something that consistently goes more than a month or so before sales start to really drip off and interest starts to wane?